Conversations from the Cave is a raw self-help podcast dedicated to discussing men's issues. From pornography to parenting, from religion to real life, from learning to loving. We discuss the real issues that affect real men every day. Join us each week for powerful, revealing Conversations from the Cave. Now your host, Kurt Kennedy.
This is Conversations from the Cave. I am your host, Kurt Kennedy, and we're joined in studio tonight by two fine gentlemen. To my right, Mustang, can you give us a shout-out, sir?
Hey, this is CJ Mustang McCann. Hope you guys are having a great day out there.
And to my left, Nola, can you give us a shout-out, sir?
This is Nola, 73. Meet you where you at.
So, gentlemen, we are embarking on the second half of our anger management program. And last week, we talked about the causes for having anger. We talked about some of the challenges of dealing with anger and the importance of men having self-control so that they are able to maneuver through anger. This week, we're going to continue that topic, and we're going to talk about a few aspects of it. And Nola, you had expressed last week your thoughts about how you dealt with issues of anger. So we'll start with you, and we'll join in as you share your experience. Can you kind of bring us up to date on some of the things that you told us last week?
Oh, wow. We were talking about a week ago. Man, my memory don't go that far back. But how I deal with it, let me just start from there because it'll start jogging my memory. But how I normally deal with anger, I got a variety of different ways. I think one of the things that I left off on was, the reliability and mind state of me owning a weapon. And coming up in the streets of New Orleans, where I did a lot of fighting and had a very short temper, very upset with a lot of the things that went on. When I started getting into weapons, I started to look at the consequences behind if I used a weapon to hurt or harm someone, the time that will be given to me. And I didn't want to put that time or my life into somebody's hand that had a mallet sitting behind a desk to say 10, 15, 30 years, all because I used my weapon. So what my weapon did for my anger is it made me more thoughtful of what I was about to get myself into. I started rationalizing more. I started talking to people more. I started moving away from scenery that I felt that was going to create a bad vibe versus when I didn't have a weapon, I would just walk. I didn't care if that was your block, if that was your concrete that you were standing on, or if I was invading your space or your private property. But now that I have a weapon, you know what? Let me not create a hostile environment. Let me try to deviate from it. And in doing that, and in owning that, it taught me how to now reason with people a lot more because I didn't want to give up my freedom. So it has two concepts. In one side, you have those people that look for the weapon to create havoc. And on the other hand, you have people that use that weapon to move away from hostile situations. So that was one of the ways that I learned how to suppress and deal with my anger, by more talking to people. And as I got to talk to people, I started to realize that we all had same issues pretty much. And having those same issues, we all butted heads. But now I can now talk to you about your issue. You can talk to me about my issue. And at the end of the day, we realized that issue is solvable because now I found someone I just needed to talk to. We all have same issues. Sometimes they come at different intervals of our life. But at the end of the day, there's a solution for them all.
Oh, yeah. And I wanted to piggyback on that, if I can. I used to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and sparring around with this guy that he was new to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but he was a black belt it wasn't Taekwondo, but it was some other martial arts. And, he spanked me. And long story short, when we were sparring, I was just sitting there like, man, I was like, dude, like, do you feel like confident, when you go out somewhere? Don't you feel like really like, man, like I can take anybody in this room? He was like, honestly, man, it makes me realize how weak we all really are. And I'm way more prone to get in a fight because I have this power, but also because I've exerted it on others and others have exerted on me, whether in competition or sparring or whatever, I realize how weak we really are. And because of that, and how powerful we really are. So I'm much less likely to get in a fight than even before. I'm now more communicative. I'm now more patient. I'm now more tolerant because I have this power. Like Noah was saying with the gun. Now that I've got this power, I know what it can do. And I realize how one shot, one literal move of that finger can change my life forever. Literally just one decision. And because of that, I'm actually going to show more restraint than if I didn't have it.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah, I think there are a couple of points that you guys are making. First of all, recognizing consequences, I think, is the first step in terms of anger management, which means that you have to stay reasonable through the process of being angry. The second issue is being rational enough to look at situations more objectively and recognize that not only in anger can we hurt others, but we ourselves can be hurt. I think one of the challenges for men who are fighters by nature, guys who tend to have a little bit more aggressive natures, is to figure out a way to channel that. And last week we talked about channeling our anger, channeling our frustrations, and dealing with that in a constructive way. You guys have both mentioned one, I guess, Nola, you're into firearms. There may be some way that soothes you. I hear that, Mustang, you're into the martial arts, and that may be a way of allowing some of your frustrations to come out. In my case, it's music. I find that when I'm most in a bad mood, that I tend to turn to music. Either if I'm in a very angry mood, it's usually I'm writing something with rock or something with a heavy beat where I can actually exert a lot of energy, or if I'm in a more disappointed mood, I might create something more melancholy. But I think channeling that is different than suppressing the emotion. And one of the things that we mentioned last week was feel what you feel when you're feeling it. So a lot of guys will ignore or deny that they are in fact upset, and they will not discuss their level, guys stonewall, and they won't discuss the level of hurt that might be inflicted by a wife, girlfriend, our children. Because men are notorious for, quote, having to be strong. And I believe that is in some ways a powder keg waiting to happen. How many, I know we are a small group, but have you guys ever been frustrated to the point where you just feel it smoldering? Where it's just bubbling up within you and you kind of feel like you have to let off some steam? Have you ever had that feeling? I think most guys would say that they have had that feeling. And one of the things that I think is a challenge is finding constructive ways to channel it. We talked about a few. But what do you do when you're not removed from the situation that continues to cause you frustration, whether that be financial frustration, whether that be relationship frustration? What do you do when you're in a no-win situation and you're having to deal with something over and over and over again? How do you deal with the conflict? And how do you find positive ways to mediate that conflict if the hardship isn't going away?
Well, one of the things I've come to agreement with myself with is if I can't change it, I don't worry about it. If there's nothing that I can do to really make a change or a difference or to eradicate the situation, I don't worry. And worrying is another formula to getting upset, becoming aggravated, and then angry. And if you have to worry about something, you're going to get frustrated. Then you're going to become upset, and then you're going to get angry. Why? Because it's not going the way you want it to go. So with me, and my wife said all the time, do you care? You act like you don't care. Well, if it's something that is out of my control, I can't change it. I can't do nothing about it. I don't care about it. I'm not worrying about it. It's not that I don't care. It's just that I'm not worried about it. Why? Because there's no need for me to worry. Most of the time, as people, we attach feelings to a lot of things that is not in our control. And when we attach our feelings and become emotional about it, and if it doesn't go the way you want it to go, because you have feelings tied to it, they start to react in ways you cannot control. So in my case, I would tell somebody, what can you do to turn the situation around? There's nothing. Then don't worry about it. But I have to. No, you don't. Because when you feel like you have to worry about something or to try to make a change is when you start to create emotions.
So are you saying...
Go ahead.
So are you saying that So let's use a case scenario, right? Let's say that there is something that causes you a great deal of frustration. We have said in the past, if a wife is not meeting our physical needs, for example, that can be a source of great consternation. You can be really upset about that, right? So the fact is that you'd want the situation to be different, but it's not changing. Right. If it's not changing, if you say, well, you can ignore it or you can simply let go of the feelings, that simply leaves a hole where the emotion of resentment will set in. It's okay. Do you understand what I'm saying? So let's say that.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So it's just like if you go to someone and you say, hey, I need some food, and they got a refrigerator full, but they're not giving you any food. What do you do with that? They should be meeting your need.
Let me, and I hear you. And you know what? That's a good question. That's a good question.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna give you two answers.
All right.
I have to go biblical, and then I'm gonna go worldly, but I'm gonna give you the worldly answer first. The worldly answer, to me, is you can again say I'm not gonna worry about it, because when you put again your feelings and emotions in there, they're going to be creating a different avenue. There's always going to be another outcome. And when you tie your emotions to, hey man, he got a refrigerator full of food and he ain't gonna give me nothing, that's emotional. Who cares if he got a refrigerator full of food?
Wow.
And who cares if he's not giving you nothing? Okay, who cares?
Well,
at the end of the day, go ahead.
Well, I'm saying, I'm more citing if it's in your home and it's your wife. It's one thing if it's out. Okay, it's one thing if it's out in the distance, but when it's in your house.
So let me bring it home then. Let me bring it to the house.
Okay, all right, I'm listening.
So you have a woman who's laying in the bed with you, who's not giving you any kind of loving. Okay, and this goes on for weeks and months, and then turn into years.
Right.
Biblically, what I have done was say, okay, Lord, what is it that you're trying to show me by using her? See, most of the time, we always think that, you know what, this is not going the way I want it to go. Well, there's a reason why it's not going the way you want it to go. I can say from personal experience that I lived a life with an appetite for sex that was outstanding to most women, that would literally call me every name in the book if they knew the amount of women that I've been with. But when I got with my wife, and I brought that same appetite from the world into the relationship, and things started to close down, then I had to go to God and say, God, why isn't she doing this for me? I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do as a man. Why isn't she doing this for me? And after weeks and months of praying, I had to reorganize my prayer and say, okay, God, what is it that you're trying to show me through her actions?
Wait, okay.
Because 9 times out of the case, it's not about her. It should be about what God is trying to do for you.
Okay.
So what he showed me was, Hollis, you think your appetite is that hungry, that big, and you need it that much. In reality, you don't need it that much. Now, why are you going to abuse something that I put in your life?
Oh, wait a minute.
Because you created something when you was not listening to me in the beginning.
Okay, there you go. All right. So what I'm hearing you say is that the process of developing and sowing wild oats has created an appetite that isn't correct for the relationship as it stands. And therefore, our frustration may be tied to the notion of an incorrect appetite. So that issue is our issue, not their issue. And that's what I'm hearing you say. Is that correct? Or
yes and no. Because again, the operative word that you're using is ours. And it's really what is God trying to show the both of you. It's really what God is trying to show the both.
But you meant ours as in men. I think you meant ours as in men.
I understand that. But it's still, even as ours, what is God trying to show you as a man?
Okay.
Because he be trying to get you to become more equipped, better, communicative with your wife, instead of just sex. Like Mustang said earlier, he said, man, when I stopped asking my wife, touching my wife, and just started focusing on this little things and cleaning up, she became, her appetite grew.
Mm-hmm.
When he stopped focusing on him, and started doing the little thing that she asked. And her appetite for sex grew for